Welcome to Midnight Mule FPL. I'm Midnight Mule and this is the video for the 5% series for Game Week 25. If you played your triple captain on Salah last game week, well done, you got a very nice score. If you activated your assistant manager chip, then if you've got Arne Slot, I suggest you keep him this game week. If you've got David Moyes, then I suggest you go to Emery from Aston Villa. We start by looking at how the players did in the system from the previous game week 24. So for the goalkeepers, Pickford 10, Becker 10, Sales 8, Henderson 6. And then that's all. For the defenders, Trent 7, Aina 6, Virgil van Dijk 6, Robinson 4. Muniz 11, Mikalenko 7, Konate 7, Pedro Porro 6. 8 Nori 7, and then that's all. For the midfielders, Salah got a ridiculous 29 points. Very well done if you triple captained him. Palmer 6. Son 10, Luis Diaz 5, Enzo 4. And then for the forwards, Wood 17, Mateta 13, Ndaya 9, Raul Jimenez 8, Gakpo 7. Havertz 12, Kuna 7, Haaland 6. And that's all. We're now going to look at the players in the system. And the way this works, we're going to look at the 4 positions. And the first player I show you is the player that I think is probably going to hurt you the most in the upcoming game weeks if you don't own them. Now, the players that are going to hurt you are the players that are highly owned and are probably going to do quite well. If you only own the highly owned players, you really should do all right. And on top of that, as a slight tweak, you want to try and get the highly owned players that are going to do well. If you can identify the popular players that are not going to do well and avoid those, you really should do all right. And then when you get players like last game week, Beto, I think, got 21 points. He's very lowly owned. It doesn't matter if he got 21 points. It doesn't hurt you. So Pickford, I think, is the goalkeeper that's likely to hurt you the most. That is, he's the most popular, who's got a good chance of getting some points. If you've got Pickford, that's fine. If you need to buy a keeper, he's an all right one to get, but he wouldn't have been my choice. If you've got Sales, that's fine. He's the next most likely to hurt you. But I absolutely wouldn't be buying him. Upcoming fixtures, Fulham, Newcastle, Arsenal, Man City. Reasonable chance of no clean sheets in that lot. If I had to buy a goalkeeper this game week, I'd personally probably buy Raya. Now you'll see for each of the players in the system, I've got a red number for each player. So Raya's at -1. That means if you don't own him and he scores 6 points, it's like you get -1. Whereas if you don't own Pickford and he gets 6 points, that's like -1.8. So that is to say Pickford's going to hurt you more than Raya's going to hurt you if you don't own them. But Arsenal don't have a blank in game week 29, whereas 4 teams do. So he's all right from that point of view. And I think later on in the season, when there are going to be blanks for other teams, Arsenal shouldn't be blanking then either. So if you buy Raya now, as long as he stays fit, you can then forget your keeper position for the rest of the season. Becker would be the best keeper to have now, certainly looking at the next 4 game weeks, and he doubles in game week 25, but he blanks in game week 29. So I'd say don't go buying Becker, but if you've got him, well done, he's great. And if you've not got a good second choice keeper, you may want to move him on for game week 29. And then we have Henderson. He's quite lowly owned. So he's only going to hurt you -0.8 for every 6 points he gets. So you may have noticed that Becker is lower owned than Henderson. However, I think Becker's got a much better chance of getting more points. So Becker is more dangerous to your rank than Henderson. But Pickford's 3 times more dangerous to you than Becker is. And don't worry if that doesn't make sense. All that really matters is the first player, the first player is the most dangerous in each position for your rank that you don't own, then the second and the third. So the second page are keepers, and none of these matter. They're not going to hurt your rank at all. We have Flecken, who's currently flagged. So I'd say if you've not got him, don't buy him. Martinez has got a double game week, but Aston Villa blank in game week 29. So if you've got him, that's fine. He's a good fun keeper to have. He might be the best or second best this game week. But I would say absolutely don't go buying him, because after this game week, the fixtures I think aren't great, and he blanks. Sanchez, he's been dropped as the number 1 keeper for Chelsea. He may play 1 or 2 more games this season. He may play none. He may play 10. We don't know. But he's a fair bit of money, and you really want to have keepers that are going to play, or at least one keeper that plays. So I suggest if you've got Sanchez, you get a keeper that does play. So we're going to take him out of the system now. Fabianski, he's no longer first choice, but he's very cheap at 4.1 million. So if you've got another keeper that plays, it's fine to have Fabianski. If you've got Fabianski and Sanchez, you definitely need to make a transfer. And then Ward represents any 4 million keeper that doesn't even play, albeit Ward's currently 3.9 million. For the defenders, Trent is currently the most important defender. He's got a double game week this week. He does blank in game week 29. So over the next few weeks, maybe next game week, some managers will be offloading him. They're away to Man City. However, if you can afford to keep hold of him, I suggest you do. Then when we get to game week 29, we can decide, are we going to move him on or just have him on our bench for that week? Gabriel, I think, is the second most important defender to have. If you can have these two, that's great. They got some nice fixtures coming out. And I know Arsenal have got several players missing, but they may do all right. And he's always got a chance of getting attacking returns. Robinson's very popular. Fixtures are okay. If you've got him, that's great. If these were your three defenders that you had and you had two bench fodder, that would be okay. So Hall, Newcastle are blanking in game week 29, and he's away to City. Then he's got Forest to keep scoring. Then he's away to Liverpool, away to West Ham. It's absolutely fine to dump Hall if you've got him. You don't have to dump him. Definitely don't take a hit to get rid of him, but it's absolutely fine to move on. Ainer's all right. There's always a chance of a clean sheet, occasional attacking return. Kirkes is growing in popularity, so Bournemouth have some nice fixtures coming up, and he's only 5 million. So you could go Hall to Kirkes, and that would be all right. And the chances are, over the next few weeks, Kirkes is going to outscore Hall. And then Virgil van Dijk. So he is a good player, but he's not massively going to hurt you at all if he does well. And he blanks in game week 29. So if you've got Virgil van Dijk, that's fine. But I'd say don't go buying him, even though he is a good player. Second page of defence, we have Munoz. He's growing in popularity, but he blanks in game week 29. But home to Everton. Everton have been doing better recently, so he may not get a clean sheet there, but he may get an attacking return. And he could get an attacking return, Fulham, Villa, Ipswich, any of those games. 4.8 million, he's a good choice for one of your three defenders that you're playing. Mikalenko, he's nice and cheap, 4.4. I wouldn't go buying him unless you desperately need a defender at that price. Kanate, I wouldn't go buying him, but if you've got him, that's fine. He's got a double this game week. Over the next few game weeks, he might do all right, and he's only 5.2. Saliba, I probably wouldn't go buying him, even though he is a good player. I've not made him green good. He's not as good in the next 4 game weeks as maybe Kanate or Gabriel, but he's a solid player, but he's very lowly owned, so you don't need to worry about him. Personally, I like Gvardiol. I've had him a few game weeks. He's absolutely not worth buying. He may go down a bit more in value yet, but from about game week 29, Man City do have some nice fixtures, so it may be some of you are going to want to pick him up in a few game weeks. He's not worth buying at the moment, probably, though. But if you've got him, he's all right to keep hold of. Konza may well be injured. I think the site has got him as possibly not playing, but I think it's quite likely he's not going to play. But the trouble is he's got a double game week. So if you've got him, it's probably worth keeping him in case he plays, because he could get 2 games out of him. But absolutely don't buy him. And if you wanted to sell him, that's all right. And then Pedro Porro. Tottenham are a funny old team, really, as far as FPL is concerned. He's all right. If you want to move him on, that's fine. He's now very lowly owned. He's not going to hurt you if he does well, so he's fine to move on. And then the third page of defenders, we've got Burn, bad fixtures coming up, and he blanks in 29. Absolutely fine to get rid of, and I think he may even be flagged as 75% chance of playing. So he's fine to move on, but he's also quite cheap. He's not taking up a lot of your budget. And then Greaves is only 3.9. He's purely bench fodder. Well, face 3.9 bench fodder. So Mazraoui, he's 4.3, but I've not marked him as bench fodder because if you've got him, you're often going to play him. But he's not going to hurt you. None of the defenders on this page here are going to hurt you if they do well and you don't own them. Harwood Bellis, bench fodder at 4 million. Aït-Nouri, 4.7. Hardly anyone owns Aït-Nouri, so he's not going to hurt you. But he does keep getting the odd clean sheet or attacking return. So I quite like him. But if you were wildcarding this game week, and I don't think you should wildcard this game week, but if you did and you're starting from scratch, I think your defender should be cheap ones, so maybe Greaves and Harwood Bellis, something like that. And then probably Trent, Gabriel, then maybe Kirkes. That's probably the way to go. Possibly Robinson. But you really don't need to be spending much money on the defenders. They shouldn't be hurting you too much. And you want to spend your money mostly in the midfield. So for the midfielders, you have to have Salah. Everybody owns Salah. He's scoring stupid amount of points. Make sure you got him in your team. Even though he blanked in Game Week 29, that really doesn't matter. Then Palmer's slightly dropping in popularity. People are releasing the money to do other things. Chelsea have lost Jackson now. He's injured. So some people are speculating that means Palmer's role may change slightly. Is he going to get fewer chances to get attacking returns? Maybe he's going to get more. We don't know is the answer. But he's still high enough owned that you really want to have him if you can get to him. But you don't need to wreck your team to get him in. And if you've got him, I suggest you keep him at the moment. Then Rodgers, he's a very good player with a double game week this game week. And he's a very good attacking player. He's an excellent player, actually. But he blanks in Game Week 29. So I'd say if you've got Rodgers, absolutely keep him for now. If you don't have Rodgers, I'd say don't go buying him. Because after this game week, you're not going to care about him. And Villa's fixtures aren't great. And Bremo's very popular. And he's growing in popularity still. 7.9 million, so quite expensive. But in the immediate future, the Brentford fixtures are quite nice. But in about maybe 5 or 6 game weeks time, the fixtures turn. So if you want to buy in Bremo, you really want to get him this game week or next game week at the latest. But he's a perfectly good player to have. Kluivert's very popular. He's growing in popularity. Bournemouth have been doing very good recently. Now they're away to Southampton, which for Bournemouth is a bit like a derby match. For Southampton, their main derby match is, of course, Pompey. So with derby matches, it does tend to level out slightly. Bournemouth would probably still be favourites though. And Kluivert is a good choice, only 5.9 million. Then he's got Wolves, Brighton, Spurs. He could score in all those games, so he's a good player to have. Ahmad, I've marked him as green because I think over the next 4 fixtures, on average, he's probably going to do all right. I probably wouldn't be bringing him in, but if you've got him and you want to keep him, that's fine. Don't bring him in. But you don't need to worry if you've got him. He's an all right player. And then Gordon, difficult fixtures, blanks in 29. I think he's even flagged. He's absolutely fine to move on. So if you've got Gordon and you've not got Mbemo and you can afford to do Gordon to Mbemo, I think that's a move worth doing. Second page in midfielders, we have Luis Diaz. Don't go buying him, but he's got a double game week, so he's absolutely worth keeping for this game week. Then maybe next week you might want to move him on. Semenyo, only 5.7 million, another Bournemouth midfielder. Totally worth having if you're looking for a cheapish midfielder. Fernandes, I've got him down as a good player. And he is a good player. He could do well in the next few game weeks. But at 8.3 million, there are other midfielders you'd probably rather have. For example, Mbemo is a bit cheaper and much higher owned. So Fernandes, if he gets 6 points, that's only minus 0.2 against you. But if we go back to Mbemo is minus 3.3 against you. So Fernandes has to score 15 times as many points as Mbemo to do as much damage as Mbemo would if you didn't own either of them. So you need to fear Mbemo if you don't have him. You don't need to fear Fernandes if you don't have him. So Enzo was highly owned. He's very lowly owned now. He's only 4.8 million though. Absolutely would not go buying him, but I wouldn't be desperate to sell him either. And in 3 and 4 game weeks time, he's got Southampton and Leicester at home, and they're quite nice fixtures. Winks are just bench fodder. Dibbling's bench fodder, but he is quite a good player. And then Son, I may even take Son out of the system. Don't know if anyone's even still got Son. But he is a good player, but he's very expensive. Nobody owns him. He could score 50 points. It's not going to affect your rank if you don't own him. But if you've got him, you could play him at home to Man United, then away to Ipswich. He's a good player. Absolutely don't go buying him. For the forwards, Isak's still the most important forward. That's to say, if you don't own him, he's the one that's likely to hurt you the most. Now, I'm aware some managers are selling him to buy Watkins. I would say absolutely do not do that. Watkins may outscore Isak this coming game week. I don't suppose he will in the next 4 game weeks, though. and they're both blanking game week 29 anyway. I think you absolutely shouldn't swap Isak for Watkins, but people are doing it. Gakpo, I wouldn't be bringing him in, but if you've got him, that's great. He's got a double game week this game week. Chris Wood, he can kind of score against anyone. If you've got him, you definitely want to keep hold of him. Very, very popular. He's the forward that's going to hurt you the second most after Isak. And then Indaya, he went off injured. We don't yet know how bad his injury is, but he's quite cheap at 5.5. If his flag turns red and he's definitely out, you might want to move him on. But if he's back in a couple of weeks, he's all right to keep. He's quite an attacking player. And there aren't a great choice of cheapish forwards at the moment anyway. Mateta's a good player. He's worth having if you can get to him and he's no effort. I wouldn't be selling Wood or Gakpo or Isak to get to him. But if you've got some spare money, he's fine for one of your players. Watkins. Personally, I wouldn't be buying Watkins this game week. He's flagged at time of recording. He may do very well in the next 4 game weeks and he's got a double. But because of the injury doubt and at time of recording, like I said, we don't know for sure he's playing. I don't think it's worth buying him. If you've got him, that's brilliant. Absolutely keep him though. And then Raul Jimenez, only 5.6 million. He's all right. So the thing with Watkins at the moment, he's really not highly owned. So if Watkins got 20 points and Gakpo got 5 points in this coming game week, Gakpo does you more damage than Watkins if you own neither of them. And to finish with an all right rank, all you need to do is own the players that are going to hurt you if you don't own them. I say that a lot. Right, the second page of forwards. Kuna, he is a good player. He's very lowly owned now, but I think he might have signed a new contract to stay at Wolves, away to Liverpool, so don't go buying in this game week. But he can score against anyone, and he's pretty good. Haaland, very good player. He seems to be scoring more often than not now, but at 14.7 million, very, very lowly owned, absolutely not worth buying. But if you've got him and you can manage to keep hold of him, you probably should do, because from about game week 29, people may start bringing him back, and you'd have a head start on them. So don't bring him in, but if you've got him, he's all right to be holding on to. João Pedro, wouldn't be buying him, but he's only 5.5 million. He might sometimes get a penalty or the odd goal. Havertz, we're led to believe he's going to be out for the rest of the season, so if you've got him, you sell him. Even if you have to do it for a hit because you're doing other moves, there's no point having Havertz. Jackson, he's going to be out for a while, so if you've got him, you sell him. Vardy, nice and cheap, 5.4 million, penalty taker. He's a lot of fun. If you enjoy watching the football games, there's 1 or 2 players I really like, and Vardy's one of them. And then Cannon represents any 4.5 million forward who's not even going to play. So we're now going to look at the benching order, starting with the goalkeepers. The way this works, the first goalkeeper I show you that you've got, I suggest goes on your bench, which means you'll be playing the other one. So if you've got any 4 million keeper that doesn't even play, he's on your bench. Then it'd be Fabianski, who doesn't play now, Flecken, Pickford, Sales, Henderson, Raya, Martinez and Becker. As for the other players, the first player you see you've got, I suggest, is position 3 on your bench, the next one position 2, and the last one position 1. Now when it comes to my suggested benching order and the captaincy choice, you do whatever you like. And that's fine. This is just my suggestion. But also, if you blindly follow this for the season, you'll probably do all right. So, Cannon, any 4.5 million forward, they're on your bench. Then it'd be Greaves, Face, Harwood Bellis, Byrne, Winks, Aït-Nouri, Mikolenko, Mazraoui, Hall, Dibbling, Enzo, Ndaya, Aina, Pedro Porro, Kirkes, Robinson, Gordon, Ahmad, Gvardiol, Saliba, Munoz, Vardy, Cunha, João Pedro, Raul Jimenez, Mateta, Fernandez, Son, Semenyo, Cliver, Gabriel, Mbeumo, Wood, Isak, Konza, Konate, Virgil van Dijk, Luis Diaz, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, obviously, normally Isak and Chris Wood and Mbeumo would be higher than those first 5, but those first 5 have either got a double game week or the potential of a double game week, depending on injuries. Regarding captaincy choices, Salah really is the safest choice to wear the old Mule hat. He's likely to be the highest scoring. He's got a good chance of being the highest scoring, player this game week, but he will be the most captained. And if he does better than the captain that you choose, if it's not Salah, that's really going to hurt your rank. So he's definitely the best captain choice. However, I'd like to give you some other choices. So Rodgers and Palmer, if you wanted a different midfielder, they might be all right. For forwards, Watkins, Gakpo and Haaland, they're all okay. But Salah's a standout. So I suggest you choose one of these as your captain and one of these as your vice captain. But if you can't do that or you don't want to do that, then any of the green players on the previous pages that were midfielders or forwards, they're probably going to be all right as well. As for the background picture, you may recognise that as Snoopy wearing his old mule hat, talking to his friend Woodstock. Because 25 years ago today, Charles M. Schultz died, and he's the creator of Peanuts. And so the following day was the last ever Peanuts that appeared in the newspaper. And there aren't any since then because there was an agreement that no one else should draw them. Apart from later on that year, in I think it was May, there was 100 different comic strip writers putting some of the Peanuts characters into their own comic strip. So that's nice. So there we have it. That's what happened in Game Week 24 and my suggestions for Game Week 25. Sorry this video is out a bit late regarding the deadline because the deadline's tomorrow night, Friday, but there wasn't an awful lot I could do about it. Thanks. Bye.